Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always, still coming in hot from Mexico. The second last pod that will be recorded in beautiful Mexico before we head home to Toronto, which hopefully will be a little bit sunnier and not as gloomy and not as gray. But that is not why we're here today. We are here because we have an incredible guest on the show, Ramani Ramachandran, the founder and CEO of Router Labs, which also runs Router Protocol, a cross-chain infrastructure project, and Dfyn, a cross-chain AMM. Ram has been in crypto since 2014. That is a hot minute ago. Prior to crypto, Ram was in the financial services industry and spent time across various functions, including product management, research, fundraising, and investments across the US, Europe, and Asia. Been a hot minute. We finally got him on. Ram, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Matt. Pleasure to be on the show with you. Thank you for having me.
Pumped to have you on. You're chilling in Dubai right now, right?
Yes.
It's crazy. The crypto hub of the world. It seems like every second or third guest I have is chilling in Dubai. It's crazy. I haven't been since 2021. Dying to go back. Is it still a big hub? Still tons of events? Still the crypto buzz? It's all there?
Yeah, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of activity, and it's, I guess, especially given the regulatory clampdown of the bigger geographies, USA, China, Europe, India. I think a lot of the talent is congregating in Dubai, so there's a lot of energy and vibe.
Just like a nice central hub, you got to love that.
Yeah.
So you got into crypto in 2014. I always love hearing my guests' sort of crypto inception stories. Was there a particular moment or aha moment or story from a friend or coworker that got you onto it? How did you get into crypto way back in the day? Heck, almost 10 years ago in 2014. What was your inception story?
Yeah, it's a great story. I was building a power plant in Myanmar, of all places. It was a 600 megawatt power plant outside Yangon in my previous life as an investment banker, investor, whatever bucket that I broadly fell in. And a 600 megawatt power plant needed $1 billion investment, right? And, you do these things, there's a lot of operational stuff, there's a lot of financing stuff, as with any large project. And one of the investors I was speaking to was a Chinese guy who said, listen, I can give you, 50, 60 million in investment, and I really like this, but I'll pay you in Bitcoin. And so now, a few years ago in London, a good friend of mine, he had his laptop set up, and this is 2009, 2010. He was literally mining Bitcoins on his laptop. And he would tell me, listen, come over, I'm going to set up something on your laptop. It's probably nothing, but just let me do it, and then maybe if this becomes something, it'll thank me.
This is 2009 to 2010.
2010, yeah.
Jesus.
So the sad part is I never took him up on the offer to install this Bitcoin mining thing on my MacBook, whatever, back then. But in 2014, when the Chinese investor mentioned, oh my God, I've heard of this Bitcoin thing before. Let me look up, and obviously, yes. So that's how I got into Bitcoin, and yeah, that's also the first remote story with Bitcoin and not entering at the right time.
That's crazy. And what about 2014? What about when you actually got into space?
Yeah, so you have two mindsets. So you have a builder mindset and trader mindset. And I was sort of, I guess, more of the builder and less a trader. And just when I started looking it up, this thing called Mt. Gox happened, and a ton of people lost a ton of money, and I sort of lost interest, to be honest, right? But again, a couple of years later, when I was trying to make markets for pre-IPO securities, unlisted shares in Airbnb, Uber, etc., and I had a fair bit of success placing these large blocks with investors in Singapore and India and that part of the world, right? Again, there's a beam about it. I wanted to build a product, and instead of trying to convince somebody to buy 5-10 million worth of Uber shares or Airbnb shares before they list it, I wanted to set up a platform that would tokenize these things, right? So that's when I sort of started digging into Bitcoin, found a couple of friends who were developers, and actually built a system on Bitcoin, not Ethereum, right? On Bitcoin, where folks could come in and offer up and basically make a market for unlisted IPO shares and sort of list them as tokens worth $10 or $5 or very small amounts. And that did very well for a couple of weeks. But then my friend who's a lawyer at Cooley, he called me and said, listen, if you don't shut it down, you're going to be arrested and you'll probably never enter the US again. Because obviously to solicit interest in any sort of US registered security, you need a veritable alphabet soup of licenses, right? CD7, CD63, FINRA registration, all that crap. So I guess, and this is one place where, Uber, Travis's maxim of, act first and then apologize later. That probably doesn't work with the SEC, as if fighting out a lot of books. So that's the big loop, right? I heard about it in 2010, I came in 2014, and then built something on it in 2015, 16. And since then we'll be building and iterating and so on and so forth.
And fast forward to present day, you and the team are buzzing and continue to build incredible things at Router. And of all things though, why address cross-chain communication? Like, obviously you and the team are incredibly talented. You guys could have dove into a multitude of different, verticals within the crypto space, and you decided to jump into that, and more specifically these issues, including security, scalability, and decentralization. Why address cross-chain communication over everything else in the space?
Right. There's so I wish my CTO was here. My CTO, Shubham, he's actually, I think, one of the sharpest brains in the business. So in fact, the whole team was actually punches way above its weight in terms of, the level of results. So back in 2018, we were having a conversation, and it's Shubham, and it was Venkatesh was actually the chief blockchain architect at Router right now. But back then, he was building Polygon with JD, and we were all in the same co-working space in Bangalore back then. And then Shubham was asking Venki, how do we get Bitcoin and Ethereum to talk to each other? And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Why should Bitcoin and Ethereum talk to each other, right? And then as the discussion progressed, I realized that, all these blockchains are like operating systems. So way back in 2001, 2002, up till, I guess both of us sort of remember the time. You had Linux, you had Sun Solaris, you had Microsoft, you had all these various operating systems. And let's say you got a Word document that somebody sent you from Microsoft Windows to your Apple laptop, right? It's a nightmare trying to open it up. And the formatting will be messed up. You have to call somebody in IT to fix it for you. And it's a lot of issues with just software, the user experience being very segregated depending on what platform you were in, right? And you had the same issue as a developer too. As a developer, you had to actually install your software on Linux separately, and on your app server for Linux, you have an app server for Windows. So depending on the operating system, you had a different experience, right? The developer experience is fragmented and the user experience is also fragmented, right? And you have the same thing in Web3 today, right? You have, as a developer, you basically develop for Polygon or Aptos or Solana or Avalanche or Arbitrum or what have you. As an end user, again, you're locked into one platform, right? You can't, although, and each of these platforms sort of try and maximize one part of the trilemma: scalability, security, and decentralization, right? And you can't really sort of say that, I want the scalability of Solana, and I want the decentralization of Ethereum, and I want the something, the third variable or something else. You don't really have the ability to pick and choose best in breed characteristics and mix and match when you. Now in Vec2, what happened was, you had two things happening. One was basically the cloud, right? So Google came in and dropped Google Docs. So you have Google Docs. I don't remember the last time I opened up Microsoft PowerPoint, right? It's all Google Slides and Google Docs and Google Sheets, right?
It's the best.
And
it's
Google
the
Sheet
best.
Exactly. And a Google Sheet is a Google Sheet, whether it's a Windows or a MacBook or a Android or whatever, right? And from a developer perspective, you're basically developing software for AWS. You just have the right Docker setup, and then boom, you build once, deploy anywhere. That's a paradigm, right? So what in Web2, the standardization or the unification of both the developer experience and the end user experience happen. And it's only natural that Web3 is going to have the same thing. You don't need to let the end user or the developer know the complexity of what's underlying under the hood, right? And a car is a car. You drive in, you have the clutch. I guess if it's a stick shift, you don't have a clutch in the gear and all that. You just put it on drive and you run, right? So, or the other analogy I love using is, Expedia.com or Priceline.com. say you want to go from Mexico to, let's say, Dubai, right? What would you do? You just go log in there and you say, you know what? I want to go in this state. I want a business class seat, and then boom, that's it, right? I mean, whereas the Web3 analogy of that experience would be you would first have to sort of solve for gas at the Mexico airport, and then you'll have to sort of solve for gas at somewhere of Frankfurt, right?
Said.
I mean, so the gate fee at Frankfurt, that you need to pay, right? And that's sort of while you're flying, you get a message saying, you know what, this is too much. Do you want to speed up? It's just a nightmare, right? I mean,
it is.
Every step, it's not atomic. Every step is very linear, and you can't really do much about it from a planning. So I think that is going to happen. So everything that you take for granted in Web 2 from a user experience perspective has to happen in Web 3, right? And then granted that, and so what's happening now is all these chains, right? Let's say the series, your Polygon, all these guys have raised gazillions of dollars, right? 500, 600 million treasuries. And they're not going to go away anytime soon. They've all built these sort of walled cities where they want to aggregate the maximum amount of LTV and users and all that, right? So Arbitrum, as you probably are tracking just now, right? This went crazy, right? There were a lot of LTV and they're going to attract developers and users and all that. So you have a fragmentation of users and developers across these chains, and therefore cross-chain is a natural, cross-chain communication is essential for the process of standardization of experiences for users and developers, and that can only happen if there's cross-chain messaging and communication.
I love how you distilled that down and gave the flying plane analogy, going from from place X to place Y. That's absolute gold. So interesting. I feel like that's one of the most underrated skills in crypto to have, is explaining incredibly complex topics and distilling it into bite-sized Web 2 analogies that people can understand. You know what I mean?
Right. No, you're right. I think we get lost in the weeds with all the technology, but the 95% or 90% of whatever, they just need simple explanations on why they should use Web3. Yeah.
So there are a bunch of companies in the space right now and incredible organizations that are trying to address the cross-chain communication issues, like we talked about, more specifically security, scalability, and decentralization, these sort of three pillars of the triangle that you discussed. But how does Router differentiate from the other projects in the space?
Well, absolutely. Great question, right? So I think a couple of things. One is, Router was started way back in Q3 or Q4 2020. And we actually had a working cross-chain transaction capability in Q1 of 2021, right? And then super excited. But, we sort of went through what we had, and we realized that there were 6 or 7 key security issues that we sort of saw that, and sadly, for good or for bad, every single one of them played out over the course of the next 12 to 18 months in various hacks, the AnySwap hack, the Ronin hack, the Lomhole hack. And so that's one reason why we didn't sort of go aggressively build TVL, start a staking program, and so on and so forth. So what we've been doing is continuing on that path of just super focus on security. We've actually built a chain that leverages the Tendermint consensus on Cosmos, right? So if you look at the overall space, there are a few different players, and we decided to build our own chain on Cosmos. And the reason we did that is because we also wanted to introduce the element of composability that building a chain would give us, right? I mean, you have a lot of competitors that are basically very good for just the case of token transfer. They don't address the generic case of messaging, right? So you have a very large name that's very good at token transfer, and a bunch of them, right? But if you want to look at generic cross-chain messaging, then you want to layer on composability there. I think that's our differentiator, right? We have a full-fledged middleware architecture where there is cross-chain statefulness. You can build a bunch of dApps that can take advantage of the statefulness across chains. For instance, you want to build a cross-chain swapping engine, and you want to layer on cross-chain limit orders, right? So let's say that you have a condition where, I want to track I'm on Ethereum. I want to track the price of Arbitrum on Solana or a Polygon, right? And I want to sort of transfer and buy Arbitrum on Polygon the moment the price goes above 1.5, right? Or sell.
Interesting.
So at or yield farm, right? So I have a ton of capital tied up on a farm on Ethereum, right? But I want to track what's happening on another farm that I like on Polygon. And the moment the yields there go beyond a certain level, I will move all my funds from Ethereum to Polygon, right? So those are basically use cases that require true cross-chain smart contracting, right? So smart computing, smart contracts is what they do, but on a specific chain. So without the chain, what we're enabling is a cross-chain statefulness, a cross-chain smart contract computing platform that sort of spans chains and sort of builds statefulness across chains. Now, one important thing is, not every use case requires this middleware capability, right? There are some chains where you just want to say, I just want to get a token across from chain A to chain B. For that, you don't need the middleware functionality, right? So we have the omni-chain framework for developers and apps that require this sort of complicated cross-chain smart contract communication, composability, and all that. And we have a framework called Crosstalk that just basic, the middleware functionality is sort of kept to a side, and you just are able to talk in a secure, seamless fashion between chains. Just sending tokens across, setting NFTs across, and so on and so forth. So the idea behind Router again is to understand that cross-chain communication is important, understand that various apps and various developers have various different levels of needs. Some need just plain token transfers, some need far more complicated use cases, and therefore taking that into account, provide a highly customizable, composable solution that sort of addresses the full spectrum of cross-chain needs. So that's I think a summary of what our vision is.
Wow, that was you threw a lot at me there. Let's keep buzzing on the developer topic for a while here. Now, one of the most difficult parts about crypto, when you have founded a company and you want to scale, it's attracting developers because there's so many incredible companies where developers can go to. You guys launched the Mahadev Institute, where you equip developers with true blue cross-chain dApp building capabilities, a series of workshops, hackathons, seminars, partnering with universities, large protocols, dApps around the world. Talk to me a little bit more about the Mahadev Institute and why this has been so paramount to your success.
Absolutely. I think this is something that the growth team has been going hammer and tongs. And so Mahadev actually is, in India, the three, in the Hindu belief system, the three gods is Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the manager or the preserver, status quo, and Shiva, the destroyer. It's a cycle. I don't know if you've heard of the Holy Trinity, right? I mean, I like the Holy Trinity, not in the Christianity.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's a very similar concept, right? So Shiva is also known as Mahadev or the great god, right? So we had a pun of the word Dev and Mahadev, and so it's the joke is that Shiva stays up all night and he's a night owl, and all devs are night owls. And so we have a ton of memes going around. So I guess that was the genesis of the word Mahadev, and it's throwing it out there because. But yeah,
it's
I think
a great story.
But yeah, the key though is, right, ultimately it's all about adoption, and you need to sort of make it easy for developers to find you, build on top of you. So to that end, we have this whole Mahadev effort, Mahadev program. We also have, to add to that, we're going to announce a grants program. We're also going to announce an ecosystem fund with participation from a bunch of our existing investors as well as new investors, ecosystem partners, right? So the idea is to basically make it very, very easy for developers to come build cross-chain applications, right? And to that end, we have, in fact, even the way we work, right? We work out of a couple of adjacent villas in Dubai, and yeah, a lot of the devs sort of live and work here, and they keep rotating in and out from wherever they are. So it's a distributed team. So we have folks in Bangalore, New Delhi, Singapore, Hong Kong, Portugal, but a good chunk of them are between India and Dubai. And this hacker house that we run, sort of, we have our own developers, but we also host developers that are passing through Dubai, for instance, right? They come and crash with us, and we ideate. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of, the idea is to sort of, build the collegial. So Web3 is changing the way we work, and it's not Web2 with a strong affiliations, top-down management. Web3 is all very fluid interchange of ideas in a seamless fashion. It's not command and control. And that sort of seeps through to the way people live and work. And this is the whole digital nomad concept, right? So while we are geographically in sort of primarily in Asia. What we want to do is sort of make sure that, we extend this concept by partnering with other similar projects that have hacker houses across the world, in Tokyo and Lisbon and Berlin and so on and so forth. So I think that's also part of the roadmap for the Mahadev Institute.
Ram, I absolutely love that. The name too. It's just like whenever you can tie some innuendo or hidden message into the name, it's absolutely world class, and I freaking love that. Ram, we're going to take a quick break. Give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, that is Prime XBT. Prime XBT and Crypto News have been partners for a long, long time. We absolutely love the team as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. After making your first deposit, 50% of that first deposit will be credited to your account as a bonus that can be used as additional collateral to open positions. The promo code is CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Ram. Ram, when I asked about how Router differs from its competitors, I loved the part and the use case in regards to sort of the limit orders and the cross-chain communication, how you can pull from sort of one pool to the other. I know you guys have a shitload of other use cases as well. I know we have tons of listeners who are big NFT fans. I'd love if you could get into some of these other use cases like the cross-chain NFTs, cross-chain governance, cross-chain stablecoins, oracles, marketplaces. The key commonality and theme is the word cross-chain, but I'd love if you could walk me through a couple of these, initiatives and use cases besides just sort of liquidity pools and limit orders.
No, absolutely. I think, just taking a step back, I think to complete the question, how we differ, right? Obviously, I spoke about the infra level flexibility where you can either build stateful apps that sort of take advantage of the middleware, or you could build stateless apps that just want secure cross-chain messaging, right? But I think there's a couple of other things that are worth highlighting is, right, one is the support for multiple languages, right? You have, obviously Cosm Wasm because it's built in Cosmos, but there's also a lot of EVM support. So basically developers can deploy the middleware contracts on a router and in Rust or Viper or Solidity, or, very soon even more, because we are plugging into the Aptos and SUI ecosystems as well. So that's one. And then there's also the modular security aspect of it, right? So you can obviously, you have the Cosmos security, and then you have the router validator security, right? And then depending on, let's say you're plugging into Optimism, for instance, right? You could actually add a rule-up there as a conditional thing. Let's say that, for instance, you have a transaction value which is $50,000 in greater. And let's say that you want to sort of use an optimistic model to verify that. You can lay that on. So there's a very modular approach to the security aspect, right? So I think that's also worth highlighting, that the range of languages that router enables, the security aspect that router enables, right? And also the infallible flexibility. Now, you bring it all together, there's a ton of use cases, right? I think cross-chain limit orders, cross-chain yield farming, those are interesting use cases, but cross-chain stable coins are a lovely use case, right? So, right now in the centralized world, what USDC is doing, for instance, is giving the ability for folks to burn on one chain and mint on another. Right now, imagine that with decentralized framework, you have a true cross-chain stable coin. So somebody could conceivably come up with a stable coin that you could automatically lend on one chain, borrow on another chain. It's a powerful use case. You could have batched NFT minting, right? Let's say that you have a ton of NFTs that needed to be minted on Avalanche, but the command for the dApp that is sort of sending the command for the mint is sitting on Ethereum for whatever reason, design reason. Now you could actually have a counter sitting between router and Avalanche, sitting on router between Ethereum and Avalanche, and it could, at the middleware contract, would sort of add the sort of keep track of the counter, cache the transactions, and then send them to Avalanche in one go, so that all these are minted in one go. That's a huge saving in multiple NFT use cases, in gaming, in just NFT new launches, what have you, right? So you have swapping, cross-chain NFT minting, cross-chain governance are the use case, right? So you have SushiSwap or Uniswap that needs to sort of aggregate votes across 15 different chains they're on. Right now, there's no one way to do it. There's snapshot that you need to do individually, and then maybe you can manually add them up. It's a nightmare, right? So that's another use case, right? With Router, in fact, we've launched internally, we've got a couple of very cool things. One is Texchange, which is a test token trading venue where you can buy and sell Guali and Coven and all these test tokens that are very, very popular, right? We have something called Ping Pong that we're working on, which is a cross-chain gaming solution, which lets people play ping pong across chains, right? So literally, yeah. So it is crazy that the number of use cases beyond the standard bridging and swapping and cross-chain farming and all that. And I think the broader where we're going though is, you got to look at the world. So right now you're looking at the car from the bottom, and you're saying that, you know what, there's the carburetor, there's the engine, that's the crankshaft, and this is how it's fitting in one chain, this is how it's fitting in one chain. Eventually, we want to get to a place where folks are looking at the car from the top, and they just they don't see the details unless they want to and open up the hood. And all they see is a nice steering and plush upholstery and stereo system and all that, and they get to the drive, right? I mean, they don't need to worry about the underlying complexity. And I think that's the focus here. I mean, let developers and users forget about what chain they're interacting with.
How again, another great analogy. How far away are we from looking at the top of the car and the inside of the car rather than what's under the hood and what's under the bottom? A couple of years out, a couple of months out, decades out? How long?
I think there's two answers to that. One is from a router's perspective, and second is from us market adoption perspective, right? So, and I'll give you the easy answers from a router's perspective. We just launched DevNet. There's a ton of adoption. The testnet is out in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then the mainnet launches, I would say, late Q2, early Q1. So at that point, if you're a developer, you have the ability to do everything that I just described, right? Stateful transactions, stateless transactions, omni-chain framework, crosstalk, everything. If you're an end user, again, once developers build this, you can sort of take advantage of all the beautiful cross-chain applications they're building, right? Now, with anything in crypto, right, I think you need to have true product market fit, right? I think at some point we're going to be done with the whole degen, let's pump this token and then dump it, and then let's fake TVL, let's get some bots, and there's a whole lot of shit. Yes,
it's got to matter.
Yes.
It's got to have a real legit use case besides just, make me money. It's got to be more than that. Exactly.
So I think, Web 2 had the chase between 93 and 2000, and then they had a big lull, and then slowly, all the use cases came out in terms of, the current big giants, right? Facebook and Google and Amazon and all these guys, and effectively they came out of the detritus of the 2000 crash, right? I think, I don't know if that's going to be one crash for us. It's going to be a series of small crashes, but eventually that bridge, that Rubicon has to be crossed where, ultimately investors and builders figure out, what, let's stop having fun. Let's build serious stuff that gets the 92-93% that's not on super excited. And I think one big thing, obviously cross-chain, abstracting out complexity is one part of it. And I think the other part of it is just the UI UX experience, right? So in fact, one of the things that we're sort of internally brainstorming is building an app that sort of like a ChatGPT NLP interface. And you just type in, listen, I want to transfer 10 Ethereum, or I want to buy 10 Ethereum. That's it. So, and then the system sort of does all the processing and tell you, what, this is what you need to do. You need to load up your MetaMask, you need to port over to Uniswap or Dfyn on Polygon, and that's how you find the cheapest Ethereum right now, right? Or I want to figure out, I have $100,000, where do I deploy? And then on the back end, all the process. Yeah, right. So it's like Siri or Google, whatever, Google Talk or whatever they call it, right? So, hey Siri, where do I deploy $10,000, right? Boom, and you have the answer, right? I think that's going to be key from an end user perspective, because you and I care about, we will take the pain to sort of go to MetaMask, have a bloody Ledger wallet, and do all those things, but 95% of my friends start rolling their eyes the moment I explain MetaMask to them, right? And I'm sure it's the same for you, right? I mean,
same with me, yeah.
Yeah, outside our sort of Kool-Aid community, nobody really gives a damn, like flying whatever, right? So I think that's the.
It's very true. You just touched on AI, Ram. I'm in the same yacht as, 99% of the world right now, very intrigued by AI chat. GPT-4 just came out and it seems like it's even more intuitive, more of a human being than GPT-3. It just seems like there's no end in sight. What's your whole take on AI? Are you worried that it's going to be too powerful? Do you think the use cases are as legit as people say they are? Are you and the team utilizing AI in any capacity to build new products and services, protocols, whatever? Walk me through your whole AI 360 degree, overview right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like 99.9%. Super excited about AI. In fact, we have our own router GPT where it has all the information on. In fact, I will show it to you during our podcast. Unfortunately, the server is down. We basically loaded up the white paper, all the dev docs, and sort of trained the model. And right now, pretty much anything you ask me. So, for example, how is it routed to certain competitors? It actually gives a very, very nice articulated answer that sort of really lays out everything that I just described. Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So we're going to publicize it. So it's called the Router GPT. We will launch it at some point. And everything about router is there. And it sort of comes up with insights that even the team hadn't thought of. Right? It's mind blowing. It's just scary, but it's what it is. Right? And yeah, we're super excited. And I think it's going to change. In fact, there are already a couple of apps that we're thinking of that sort of merges AI and cross-chain. It has that really cool UI experience that GPT-4 has and so on and so forth. Your earlier question, right? I mean, good or bad? Listen, I mean, isn't that the question that every technology has? Whether it was gunpowder or printing or internet or even money, right? I think. And
what's it going to destroy? What's it going to make nullified?
Yes, but I think what's really scary this time is there's some really smart folks, right? I think was it Elon Musk or one of them or Peter Thiel, right? They're all very, very scared of AI. They believe that at some point some system is going to take over and this, I mean, imagine there's going to be multiple. AI is going to be a reflection of society. So you're going to have some systems which are right-wing, Trump support. There's going to have some that are going to be the other end of the spectrum. Some are going to be, very green, conservative. So imagine a scenario where some AI that gets very powerful decides, we human beings are really bad for Earth. It's time for a refresh. And it sets in motion a chain of events that blows up shit and kills all of us, right? I mean, maybe it releases a virus from a lab or... So there's so much...
It's crazy. No, it's true. It's true.
So there's probably a Black Mirror episode at some point that sort of addresses this very same scenario at some point. So I guess... What do you think? I mean, let me. You speak to a lot of smart people, and what's your view? What are you hearing?
A whole lot of different things. Right now, I'm a big believer of sort of only worry about what's under your control, right? So I just look at how I can utilize AI to make my life more efficient and help my clients achieve their goals, and I feel like AI and efficiency are hand in hand, right? That's really what AI does. It just makes life more efficient. Whether I'm sending an email or creating a new sales sequence, whatever the case may be, it's like I can throw it into ChatGPT and it sort of takes out that first step of my thinking. And again, there's also a con to that where it's like I'm being less creative because now I'm stealing the stencil from GPT-4 and then adding my own touch to it. Or, maybe I'm only using one line, but I feel like that's one of my favorite use cases is giving it ideas. The other day I built a website. The other day I saw a tweet. Went on and I can't code for shit. I have zero coding experience. I saw a tweet, went on Replit, got an account, fired up the hosting, got ChatGPT to write me a beautiful script, threw it in, and I now have a working. It's a personal blog for myself, but it works. And normally I would pay someone in my network, or I would pay a friend, or I would use a shitty Shopify website or something. Not shitty, but I would use a stencil, and now. So I can only really look at it in my own end, but some of the very smart people that I'm very fortunate to have talked with, everyone's in the same yacht where it's like it's going to be incredibly useful, and it's going to potentially take over the world. The one thing, and I've heard this take a couple times from people within the network, is it's one of the worst things that could have happened to crypto at this specific time because a lot of the buzz, right? Humans are FOMO. Incentivized, and the crypto buzz really is not there right now. Yes, we have a bit of, Bitcoin and hard asset narrative going around because of the shit show in the TradFi market. But besides that, I feel like the AI buzz has just infinitely squashed the crypto buzz. And again, you and I both have skin in the game in crypto, obviously, not as much in AI, but those are just a couple of my takes. But again, I'd be lying through my teeth if I told you I knew really what the hell was going on, right? We're all just throwing darts at a board and seeing what sticks.
Even the smartest among us, right? I mean, even the smartest among us is sort of more lucky than...
It's very true.
Yeah. To earn your point, though, I mean, 20 years ago, it was how good you were at Google searching, right? I mean, once Google came, you didn't need to sort of go to a library and catalog. And once smartphones came, you didn't need to remember for your friends' phone numbers, right? But there was just random access memory, and AI is fundamentally changing the way we barely think. I mean, as you rightly said, I mean, you're not going to, like, for instance, when I'm asked for a tweet or a comment by a publication, I literally have one of my team members type that into ChatGPT, send me the first response, and then I filter it. So it is making you lazy.
It's crazy. I know. And then there's the students, and Ram, think about the students. Another viral tweet I saw, I want to say it was yesterday, the day before. One professor, there was, I think, 80 kids in the class. 77 of 80 kids got caught using ChatGPT on their essay.
Yes.
If I'm 19 years old in first year, second year university, there is a 0% chance that I'm not using AI to write all my friggin' essays. You know what I mean? Like, why 100%. Wouldn't I?
No, so my niece in Australia was telling me they use ChatGPT, and then so their school has instituted something called GPT-0, which sort of takes this So it takes the essays and runs it to GPT-0, and GPT-0 has a 97% chance of predicting if the essay has come from AI. They use something called Quillbot or something, and sort of spend the extra 10 minutes rephrasing certain keywords, editing a few keywords, and then they run it to GPT-0. It's impossible to find it. And that's how they game the system.
Too good.
So you combine AI plus NI, natural intelligence. It's a recipe for either brilliance or disaster. I mean, what take your pick?
It's just crazy. Like, my parents would tell me stories. Like, my mom would be like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, you have it so easy." When I used to write essays at school, I'd be ripping through the bookshelves, where you actually have to like crank the wheel to make it move over, going in like claustrophobic bookshelf, finding the book, taking all the notes, checking it back out. Whereas for me and you, we just fired up Google, we're off to the races, you know. And I mean, I couldn't really plagiarize. You plagiarize as little as you possibly can, throw it in to turn it in, make sure it doesn't check out, boom.
Right.
The kids nowadays, like, it's a cakewalk, you know. It's just, and even math too. Like, if you have a smartphone at your desk and there's a crazy math question and you're just, you know, you just type that into the ChatGPT under the table while your prof isn't looking, boom. Yeah. Anything you want, it's there. It's just crazy. It's pretty darn cool. And
So the other day, my daughter asked me the other day, how do you make the number 9 with 4 2s? 2, 2, 2, 2. Right? And then it's like, what do you mean? And then I typed in the ChatGPT, of course. And then, of course, the answer is there. It's 22 by 2 minus 2. You know, the sad part is I should have spent 10 minutes trying to solve the problem, but no, it just makes me a bit lazy. I guess it's just unconscionable.
Too much fun. Ram, this has been an absolute treat, man. I know we're getting a little tight for time here. We always have a segment on the show called the Hot Take Factory. It's where you and I jump in the Hot Take Factory, put our shit kicking boots on, let a couple hot takes fly. I know we just talked about AI. That's a pretty hot one, but give me a couple of Ram hot takes where only you really believe in, most other people don't. Can be health, wealth, happiness, you name it. Preferably not crypto related, but give me a couple of Ram hot takes before we let you go.
I want to say Bitcoin and $1 million in sometime the next 5-10 years, but I guess you probably believe in that as well as Visa. I guess probably not a hot take. Even in
I'd love
community.
to see it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. You know, I think the focus has a shift to environment at some level, and I think I truly wish that, you know, a lot more folks, more smart folks, focused on how to sort of get the global warming targets below the 1.5 degree target. We're not going to hit that. We're going to have cities going down. We're going to have a lot of cities sort of getting submerged, extreme weather events, typhoons, and that's going to lead to geopolitical stress. And, you know, I seriously think there's going to be the butterfly effect is highly unpredictable. The chaos, the entropy in the system is increasing through multiple factors, geopolitics, environment, etc. But I think the fundamental underpinning thing there is just the ability for humanity to sort of come together and focus a bit more on the environment. And I don't think we're there yet. I mean, if you look at newspapers or the media site. It's all the macro stuff or the Ukraine-Russian war, or it's some of the politics. What did Boris Johnson do yesterday, or what did Trump do tomorrow? I just wish conversation focused on the very environment. I mean, a small ball that we're on, it's pretty flimsy. And if it goes down, we're all, pardon my French, but fucked.
No, you're bang on.
Yeah, I really want to sort of at some point just come up with something that sort of makes a dent in the fight against the whole global degradation and warming that's there. And I just wish a lot of the smart folks, creative folks that we have in the crypto community also are part of the journey.
It'd be a treat if a lot of the crypto folks who, like yourself, who created incredible companies and could very well potentially have billion-dollar buyouts within the next couple of years. It'd be a treat if, a lot of you guys jumped over to the climate industry, to fight climate change and to really help. I'm not saying what you guys are doing isn't helping right now, but you know what I mean, right? A lot of the time it takes fire to fight fire. And without a couple $1 billion, I feel like it's pretty darn difficult to make a dent in such a prominent industry as climate change. So it's interesting how it works.
We need everybody. We need communicators, intellectuals like yourself. We need the builders like myself. We need the big investors. We need everybody focused on this problem, right?
You need the Avengers. You need the dream team. So
yes,
Ram, what a treat! Incredible episode. Really appreciate you coming on, man. This was truly a lot of fun, and would love to have you on for round 2. Before you go, please let our listeners know where they can find you, Router, and Dfyn online and on socials.
Absolutely. Routerprotocol.com. Dfyn.network. I think the Twitter handle is at Router Protocol, and the Dfyn Twitter is @_Dfyn, and my handle is cryptoman_Ram. So hit me up, and it keeps changing, but right now it's cryptoman_Ram. So yeah,
I love that. Ram, great episode. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks again. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Folks, what an episode with Ram, the founder and CEO of Router Labs. He was dropping knowledge bombs left, right, and center. And we also got to conclude with a little AI and climate change talk. We'd love to see it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I certainly did. If you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Eustace, you're the man. Appreciate everything you do. And to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.